All right, React challenge review beginner. So some of you had some issues on question number 2. So first of all, can anyone please tell me how many props the actors component receives? One, correct. So there is just one prop, which is the list of. Yes, there is some noise. I agree on that. Sorry, guys. Let me check who's. Yeah, okay. Someone mute himself or herself, so it's looking good now. So yeah, so the actors component receives one prop, which is the list of actors. What type of data actors is? That's correct, Lauren. That's perfect. It's an array of objects. Yeah. So because it's an array of objects, we're just going to iterate. We're going to loop through the array of objects and then display all the individual actors. I mean, the exercise is halfway through. Yeah, we got the array, we got map, we got the key. So it looks like the only thing we need to do is just to display the content. So look at the details. We are expected to display the name of the actor and then the age surrounded by parentheses. So to display the name of the player, we do player dot name, and then to display the age, can you do player.age? I got a question for you guys. Is that gonna work or not? That's correct. That's correct. According to the exercise, yes, this is just about UX. Yeah, we want to display the age of the. Actually, what? That's a bit weird. Why are we talking about players? Yeah, this is about actors, right? So. Alright, so even the exercise is inviting us to use the word player. I don't like it, so I'm gonna rename it to actor. I think from a semantics perspective, it works a bit better. Yeah, and then you see, yep. Alright. Let's do something, guys. If I were paid £1 every time someone told me I did the exact same and didn't work, and then I prove that you didn't do the exact thing, then I will be multi-billionaire, yeah? So, Aaron, let's do something. Let's say what Aaron did, and let's see if he did exactly the same thing or not. I mean, maybe you did, and there was a problem with the platform. Yeah, I'm not against that option. But 99% of the time, you did something different. Right, this is Aaron. Yeah. All right. So there are a few things here. So Aaron, first of all, you are using Firefox, right? Firefox is not officially supported yet, so that may not help. But anyway, all right. So that's what Aaron did, and then he said that he added the parentheses, right? All right. So let me add the parentheses surrounding the age, something like that. All right, so let's run it, and it doesn't work. Why it doesn't work, guys? That's correct. Look, that's correct. The ladies are right, Aaron. So look, expected Aaron, sorry, not Aaron, Arnold 71 without any space to equal Arnold space 71. That's because you decided to break name and age into separate lines, and you were expecting React to add a space, but that's not really the way it works. So you manually have to keep things in the same line. And now, if you test it again, it works eventually. Yeah. All right. So can I bring back what they did? I want to see if we can improve the solution somehow. There you go. So that's our code. Is there any improvement margin, guys? Can we do anything else on that solution? What do you think? Let me bring it back. Here we go. All right, interesting how we do that, Lauren. Yeah, definitely. You have to remember that, Lauren. Parentheses always go outside. Yeah. Cool. Will that work? That's correct, yeah. So if it works, it should still work, right? You see, still work. What confetti tank? Anything else? That's interesting. That's interesting. So Elena is insisting to replace the div with a fragment. Interesting. Yes, that should work. Let's try it. And now I got a question for you. Can I just, get rid of everything, literally? Look, can I just get rid of the fragment? Let's see if it works. Well, it works definitely, but the reason is not correct. So it doesn't work because it's just one line. It works because when React returns something, it returns either HTML, not HTML. I don't want to use HTML, guys. We are in the second half of the bootcamp. So JSX, it returns JSX with a single root element, or JSX with a fragment, or let me put or an array of elements. That's valid in React. In this particular case, we are returning an array because we are using map. Map takes an array of data, in this particular case, as Lauren said before, an array of objects, and then it transforms the array of objects into an array of JSX paragraphs. That's valid in React. So technically speaking, you can do that if you want. That's why, yes, definitely, you can have a fragment, as we've seen a minute ago. You can have a div or a label even, yeah, that's fine, technically speaking. Or for simplicity reasons, you can have nothing, because map will return an array of elements, and that's a valid output of a React component. Questions? Is there any way to improve this component even more? Guys, that's a beginner question. I'm not a big fan of passing what, Elena? That's correct, the structure in the prop. So what? Actors, that's correct, Elena. You see, guys, that's correct. So this is the type of things that you cannot hesitate. I mean, if you're in your interview, you cannot spend 45 seconds trying to think how to do that, because that's so obvious. Thing is, that rule applies to every single functional component in React receiving props. So that's the first thing you should say. Yeah, let's destructure props, because from a readability point of view, it helps. You don't need to write props. Anything else, guys? Any questions? No, that's pretty much it, right? Alright, so if you don't have any questions, then let's actually check question number 5, which was the last one. So what we got in question number 5? Was it this one? Club tickets. I think we reviewed that question already. Did we? Didn't we? Guys? Alright, yeah, just in case, let's quickly do it, right? Let's quickly do it. Alright, so can you tell me how many props the club tickets component receives? What? Correct, user. Be careful here, it's the user. Don't say the name of the props is age or session, it's none of that, yeah? It's just user. So let's destructure it first of all, yeah? So you see, guys, if you are presenting that problem in a job interview, and the first thing you do is to destructure, you are presenting your credentials to the employer. So don't forget that when you interview someone, you don't really know how talented that person is. So at the beginning you are a bit skeptical to see what that person can offer you, and that's a very simplistic, very effective way of presenting your credential. Like, hey, if you were thinking that I wasn't gonna know that, you were wrong, because I know how to destructure things straight away. Okay? So that's the first thing. And now, I mean, I'm not sure if we covered that problem in particular, but the idea is always the same. Yeah? We deal with very similar exercises. So we got a user that has few properties. If the user is at least 18 years old, he can or she can get tickets for the nightclub. If he's less than 18 but tries to get tickets for the afternoon session, still all good. So the only scenario where user is not allowed to buy tickets is where he or she is below 18 and tries to get tickets for the night session. All right, so we can do something like return. I don't think the exercise talks about HTML, P, label, div, none of that, right? So let's keep it simple, guys. I'm gonna ignore JSX. So return user dot age is greater or equal to 18, or user dot session equal 2 equals or 3 equals, guys? 3 equals, correct, yeah? Afternoon, then purchase exclamation mark. It's very easy to fail with typos and things like that here, right? So let's be careful with the typing. Sorry, comma, not allowed. I think that's it, right? So if the user is at least 18, or remember, guys, Boolean algebra, truthy. If that condition is truthy, or the next condition is truthy, then return purchase. Can you tell me, guys, if the user is, I want to say 47 years old, but that example could maybe be a bit creepy. If the user is 19 and the session is night, can you tell me what this highlighted piece of code will return? So wait, let me repeat the question. User, wait. User is age 19 and session, the selected session is night, for instance. Yeah? And I'm asking you, I'm not asking you what the component returns. I'm asking you what that expression on line number 8 will return. All right. Wait. So we got Vicky said true, and then we got also Aaron, and then who else? Elena. Anyone else? Lauren. All right. Why true? That's correct, Vicky. That's correct. Is the first, so what the first expression returns? True. Because the age of the user is greater or equal than 18. Fantastic. So true is truthy. And because we're using the OR operator, the first, remember guys, with the OR operator, the first truthy expression will be returned. So the right hand side won't even be evaluated. Yeah? And what if the user is 17? What expression on line number 8 will return? Why false? And then what? Okay, so you got, all right, you got false or false, and it returns false. But why? Is it because of the first expression, or is it because of the second one? Why the second one? That's correct. The last one. Guys, it doesn't matter if it's false or truthy. Yeah, with the OR operator, if all the expressions apart from the last one are falsy, it will just return, oh, what the hell is going on? It will just return the last one. Yeah. So for instance, if I do, what will that expression return? So was it Maxim? Truthy, what truthy? A string with the word truthy? Yeah, I want to do, guys, console.log. Yeah, I want, yes, Guys, Aaron, Elena, and Lauren are right. Why? Well, is the first expression what? Truthy or falsy? Falsy, because that returns false, yeah? Then, or we return whatever is at the end of the expression. It doesn't matter, guys, if here you got hello, false, true, whatever you got last will be eventually returned. If you have hello, it will return hello. If you have coldity, it will return coldity. But even if you got false, it will return false because it's the last expression. See, it doesn't matter. Empty string, empty string. So the last expression will be returned because all the previous ones were false. So this is why it is so important, guys, to really understand how the Boolean algebra works. Because even if you go to a job interview, they present your algorithm like this one, and you know, at the first 30 seconds you will smile like, all right, that's easier than I expected. But if the employer keeps asking you questions and keeps changing the algorithm, especially when talking about if else, you know, ternary operators, things like that, things can get a bit complicated, yeah, eventually. All right, so I think that should work. Here you go. Yeah, you know, it just works. Is there any way to improve it? That's correct. Guys, does any of you have any wild animal at home? Any wild bird from the dinosaur area? Because there is something a bit dangerous asking for human attention behind you. All right, so we got. It's mega sad. Don't say sorry, Vicky. We just want to make sure that you are safe, right? Whatever you are. Cool. So we can destructure age and session. So then, you know, even simpler. We can just do age greater equal 18 and then session after. Cool. Any questions, guys? No? Alright, so that's pretty much it about beginner. Of course, if you got any questions, just, you know, send a message on the Slack and we'll be more than happy to talk about it. Alright, so let's focus on upper intermediate. By popular demand, I'm gonna start with the question number, I don't know, 4, I believe. It doesn't really matter. So the question about displaying a list of music artists. The question is tricky to understand. Yeah? So once you know what the hell is expected to happen here, it's quite easy. It's relatively easy. But the thing is, the instructions are a bit weird. Yeah, I mean, just look at this bunch of code that I vomited some time ago. It's just hard to deal with. Yeah. However, rather than trying to understand everything, I think we can go step by step. So look. I mean, just let's pay attention to what we got here. So we got a component called music artists. It receives a list of artists. So it's an array of objects. So that should be okay. We're quite comfortable dealing with array of objects. I'm sure at some point we will have to use either a map or filter or find or, you know, things like that. And then what's the idea? So the idea is look, get artists. So get artists is you know, a list of artists. So we are expected to have one element, one DOM element, one JSX element for each artist. It doesn't matter if it's a div, a label, a span. Does it really matter, guys? That's correct. We just care about the class name, yeah? So whatever we do, it should have class name, artist. And then, so, okay, so for each array element, we need an artist. So, you know, what I'm thinking is we need to use map. Yeah, that's pretty obvious. And then look. That artist component will have another element with class name name and another element with class name first album. Something like that. Yeah, there are some particularities because you look at this so details. Boolean. We'll see how that affects to the eventual result. But for now, I'm going to ignore that one and I'm going to prepare everything. Guys, we got a class. Once again, the message is, if there is a simpler way, I'm not a big fan of using classes. So we don't probably even need to deal with a state, hooks, or anything like that. We just got a list of things. and we want to transform that list of things into a list of JSX elements. So you know what I'm going to do, right? So I'm going to remove everything. I'm going to type function music artist. I'm going to destructure the argument straight away. So guys, can you tell me the name of the argument? Wrong? List, that's correct. Look, always, that's correct, Elena, that's correct. Yeah. Can you hear us, Elena? All right, so remember, guys. Yes, we got that, Elena. You're right. So remember, the name of the props is whatever is on the left-hand side of the equal symbol. Yeah. And now I'm gonna do return list.map, and then I'm gonna call it artist, and then I'm gonna do what? I'm just thinking. Yeah, I'm just thinking. So for each artist, I know I need to do something like that. So I need a div. That div will have a class name. Class name. Can you tell me what should I type here, guys? That's correct, Lauren. Artist, because that's what the exercise is looking for. Yeah, an element with class name artist. Remember to add the key. Yeah, with something unique. I'm gonna destructure artist straight away. Yeah. So then I don't need to refactor it later on. So I can pass here, you know, the props of each artist, the name, first album, and I'm going to pass the show details property as well, even though I'm not going to use it in the short term, show details, but you know, I'm sure sooner or later I'll have to do something with that boolean. All right, can you give me a nice key for each element, guys? Artist of name, wrong. Just name, that's correct. Guys, we are destructuring the artist, so you cannot. What's the point of destructuring if then you want to use the full selector? Yeah, just the name. Cool. And now here I need another element. I mean, I'm using a div, but technically speaking, I could use something else, like a label, things like that. So class name equal what? Name, and then I got the name. Yeah. And likewise, I got the first album, and then I got whatever the first album of each artist is. So can you tell me, guys, first of all, how many root elements our music artist component has? For instance, yeah, on any of the examples, how many root elements the component has? 1, wrong. 3, wrong. It's not 1, it's not 3. That's correct. It's 2, but why 2? Wrong. Called, so-called, guys. No. We explained that 2 minutes ago. So what is the function component? List.map. Okay? So because we're using map, so for each artist, we're going to return that piece of HTML, or of JSX to be more precise. So in reality, that component is returning something like that. It's returning an array with the first element, comma, and then the second element. Yeah, obviously you need to replace. That's what the component will eventually return. Yeah, and obviously you rename the data with Michael Jackson, whatever. Yeah. So the component is going to return an array of 2 JSX elements. Is that valid, guys? Is that acceptable in the React world? All right, guys, I'm not going to answer that question. I'm going to invite you, or I'm going to force you to rewatch that session, because we explained that 3 minutes ago. Okay, cool. So we got that list of artists, and that's not going to work yet. And the reason why that's not going to work yet is because if you pay attention to the instructions, there is something quite tricky here. Look at my highlighted code on the left-hand side. Expected first album exists to equal show details. In other words, for some artists, we want to display what the first album is. Yeah, for instance, for Mac Fleetwood. However, for other artists like Samantha Fox, we don't want to display what the first album is. That's what we get here. You see, that's what we get. That element, get first album, here will exist if the show details flag is truthy. So the way, that's a common use case scenario where we're going to display some details sometimes. So the way we can easily solve the problem is, first of all, type in curly braces because I want to play with with JavaScript, and then look. That's the simplest way of solving the problem. Yeah? Boolean algebra again and again. If I got show details, then display the album. If the first expression is falsy, then remember, guys, the AND operator, the second part of the expression won't even be evaluated. So that's not gonna happen. That's not gonna be displayed. You may be thinking, can I use a ternary operator? Yes, you can do that, right? If you got the details, but then else what? What do you put here? Can you put nil? Maybe, I don't know, let's try that. Yes, you can put nil. Yes, you can, fantastic. But to me, it feels a bit overcomplicated. To me, the ternary makes sense. Yeah, but that kind of thing to me is not ideal, because to me the ternary, ternary is if else makes sense when you care about the if and you care about the else. Yeah, when you got A or B. But in this particular case, we don't have A or B, we have A or nothing. You may be thinking, but nothing is B. Right, I don't know. To me, this just feels, even though that's correct, and if you don't feel comfortable with the other approach, that's fine. I will encourage you long term to get used to that, because it's just simpler. Yeah, it's just a simpler way of representing the same thing. If I got show details, then display whatever the first album is. If not, just ignore it, and that should work, as you can see in my screen. Questions? Yep. Well, that's the thing. If you want to display A or B, so for instance, if you want to display, if I got details, then display the first album. Else display, I don't know, sorry, no album available, something like that. In this case, for the user, it makes sense to get different messages. So then, if that's what we wanted to do, of course, we need a ternary, A or B. But if we just care about one use case scenario and we don't care about the other one, there is no need. There is no need. No, that's not a ternary, because ternary implies there are three parts. In this case, there are no three parts. This is just a coding. Guys, this is just this is a coding technique that has nothing to do with React. So React didn't create that strategy. That has nothing to do with JavaScript. So there are, in many programming languages, you can do that. So you can do, the programming languages, things like, I don't know, if I got basket, this is pseudocode, and pay basket. I hope you get the idea. So if I got something in the basket, then I want to pay for that. Because if the first part is falsy, guys, so for instance, if I got let basket equals nil, for instance, can you tell me what that console log will return? That's correct. That's correct. That's correct, guys. It will return null because the first expression is falsy. Null is falsy. So then the second part will be ignored. And what if in reality I got something like, yeah. What if we got something like that? So in this case, is the basket truthy or falsy? That's correct. Because it's truthy, then pop, we move the code to the right hand side. So we will pay whatever we got on in the basket. It doesn't really matter what you put here. Remember that with the AND operator, if you got true and hello, what's that going to return? That's correct. It's hello because, well, because with the AND operator, we check all the expressions until we find a falsy one. If all the expressions are truthy, then the last one will be returned, regardless of whether it is truthy or falsy. Yeah. So if we put true and hello, we'll return hello. True and world, it will return world. True and empty string will return empty string. True and empty array will return an empty array. Yeah. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. True and null will return null. Yeah. So it works the same as the OR operator, but on the other way around. I strongly recommend you to watch again the Boolean algebra workshop we recorded on the last week, because that's very important. And as part of the workshop, we set up some rules. So you just need to remember these rules when dealing with the AND or the OR operator. What else, guys? All right, let me have a quick look to what you proposed. So that was question number 4. Yes, list of music artists. So let me try to zoom the screen out a bit. So for instance, Lauren. So you see, Lauren is using a fragment, an empty fragment, which is nice. But the thing is, if you can remove a piece of code, Lauren, and then it doesn't affect the result, then what's the point of writing that piece of code, right? So you can safely get rid of that line and then that line at the bottom as well. So she's using a class, so she's mapping over the list of artists. She's using a key, and then she gets the name in the paragraph, and then you see she's using the same strategy. That looks correct to me. My only subtle complaint is about indentation. I think, Lauren, these 3 lines of code are wrongly indented. I think. Like, actually, that's something we can hopefully prove. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, let's just try it. So music artist. So if I run that code, oh, it doesn't complain. That's interesting. It doesn't complain. What if I move this to the left? Will it complain? Let me try to run it again. Well, it doesn't complain at all. All right, so both options are valid. That feels a bit random. To me personally, when you got the AND operator, all the expressions should be aligned, because you may have more things here, right? So artist also details and artist dot is sexy and what you may have multiple conditions. So I think it's much easier to read them when they are aligned. Otherwise, if you do something like that, I don't know, that feels to be a bit more complicated to read. Yeah. I will check the linting rules, Lauren, because to me that should throw a warning. Right? Obviously, that doesn't throw a warning, so you don't know that. Cool. Look at what Vicky did. So, no, I mean, I don't care about indentation, right? That's a tiny detail. But the thing is, so for instance, she missed the class name, the artist class name. That's probably the main issue you got here. Yeah, missing the artist class name. And of course, Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was the most tricky part of this program. Yeah. I mean, I can see that everyone else had the same issue, right? So I hope at least you know now how to do it. All right, guys, we got time for one more question. So, do you have any preference? Is there any question in particular you want to deal with? Yeah. All right. Cool. That's a good one. Yeah. Let's do that question. Actually, that's a good question, Elena. So submit a request. That's much easier to understand. It takes 30 seconds to at least get a feeling about what the business wants, right? So look, we got a button, yeah, and then the button has some text. Press to submit. When we click on the button, the text changes to submitting, and then after 1 second, the text changes to done. You know, when you are trying to, submit a request to join the army. That's a stupid example, right? When you submit a form, then you press a button, you get a message like submitting or working on it, wait, or you pay some transaction, whatever, and eventually you get done message, something like that. All right, so to satisfy Elena's appetite, I'm going to use a function straight away. So function submit, and then I'm going to use hooks. So we learned hooks last week, right? So with hooks, if you remember, the first thing we need to do is to create our state. So my state is going to be, for instance, I'm going to call it message, set message equals use state. So can anyone tell me what's going to be the default message? Press to submit. I like that because that's the default content the user will get, yeah? Unless he or she press the button, if the component is idle, the message will be pressed to submit. All right, fair enough. So now I'm going to do return, and then I'm going to play with my button. So the HTML is quite simple. So can anyone tell me how can I display the content of the button, the text? That's correct. Message in curly braces because that's correct, Elena. Because that's a JavaScript variable, so we need to surround it with curly braces. All right, so we are almost there. Now the only thing we need to do is create an onClick event. Yeah, and then with the onClick event, there are two ways of solving the problem. We can do something like that. So now we can bind with a submit event. So now we can create another variable called submit, which is a function. And now, first of all, as soon as we click on the button, we want to change the message. So we can call set message again, but in this occasion, the message will be what? Submitting. That's correct, Vicky. Submitting. ... Yeah, correct. And then we need to wait 1 second. So we can wait with a set timeout. Yeah, something like that. Remember to pass the argument. That's part of code flex task number 13, I believe. When you introduce a state, you do something somehow similar, right? I just noticed that my indentation is wrong, so before I get any warning, let me start over. Now that should be correct. That's a bit weird. Let me start again. Yeah. And now, what happened after 1 second, guys? What should I do here? Set message, and then what? Dot. That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. That's pretty much it. So let's run it, and here is the confetti time. Yeah. So. Oh, all right. Then that's not gonna work definitely. If it's the capital, we'll see in a minute what you did, Elena. We can simplify, guys. We can simplify that expression because here we call a function and then we call our function. So I'll show you a trick. Rather than calling a function that calls our function, if you're using a function, if you're using hooks, you can do something like that. On click. Yes, that's correct. That's correct, Vicky. That's correct. That's technically speaking correct. You save a reference to the submit function. It's calling it when we click on the button. Look, if I run it again, it works. Let me ask you something, guys. What happened? And there are 3 points on the board challenge for whoever gives me an accurate description about what's going to happen if, instead of saving a reference, I call it. So what's the error, Vicky? All right, that's your opinion. Thank you, Vicky. Who else wants to participate? All right, so let's talk about breakpoints, guys. Let's talk about breakpoints. So I'm gonna add a breakpoint on line number 6 virtually, and another breakpoint on line number 12, 6 and 12. So Elena, what's the execution order? Starting from the moment I click on the button. Actually, no. Sorry. Just to keep it, I'm trying to simplify the question because that's a bit complicated. I'm not even going to click on the button. I'm just going to refresh the page. So I got a breakpoint on line number 6 and another breakpoint on line number 12. I'm not clicking on the button. So you tell me what happened, Elena. 12. All right. Lauren, do you wanted to say something? Twelve and 6. All right. Anyone disagree with the ladies? All right, I'm sorry to tell you, you didn't get the job because you are massively wrong. And that's a fundamental issue about how React works. Actually, you do something like that, you are breaking not this component, you are breaking the entire application. Why? You're right, you start at line number 12. And then you are right as well, because we're calling the function. We move to line number 6. So, hey, you're right, that's correct. 12 and 6. However, what happened when you update the hook? What happened when you update the state? That's correct, Lauren. That's correct. Why you have a state? Because you want to re-render, you want to redisplay, you want to refresh the user interface, right? So that means that after updating the state, we are back to line number 12. And then what happened here? That's correct. We call the function again. Yeah, you see? We call the function again. So we go back to line number 6. And what happened again in line number 6? That's correct. You see the problem, guys? We are creating an infinite loop. Every time you update the hook, you are gonna redisplay. That's why that code is massively wrong. You should be very careful. If you run that code, you'll get an error. And the error will clearly tell you, hey, you created by accident, unless you're a hacker, you created an infinite loop. Yeah? So that's not correct. That's why we cannot call the function like that, because this is going to ruin our experience. We just need to save a reference. If you don't feel comfortable with that format, you can write the longer version. You see? Now you may be thinking, but we're calling the function again. Yes, correct. Now we call the function only when we click on the button, not before. Questions? If you click on the button, you mean doing something like that? Submit with a curly brace. Yeah. No, of course, no, that's gonna work. Of course, that's gonna work, Vicky. No, that works. Yeah, of course that works. Of course that works, because now we are not calling the function. Do you see any parentheses here? Not at all. we're not calling the function. What we tell to React is, please, hey, whenever we click on the button, then call the function, not before, not after, right? At that moment. Yeah? The code is the same, guys. There are two options. Long version, you do that. Short version, you just say the reference, as Vicky said. That's a good question. That's a good question. That's a good question. That's a good question. So can we declare the function typing function submit and then do all this stuff? Yes, we can. That's correct. That's correct. We can use either format. You see, guys? So you can create yeah, somehow it looks like now React community is moving towards using constant as functions. But if you feel more comfortable writing functions in that way, as you can see, the code is absolutely valid. Yeah, but both of actually I can keep both functions side by side. The code is the same. It's literally copy and paste. The only difference is the coding style. Yeah, it's just a bit different. Anything else, guys? I'm gonna share that on Slack in case you find this snippet particularly interesting. So let me paste it, and then finally to finish this session, let me check what you propose here on question number 3. So question number 3 is interesting, guys, because for instance, Lauren and Vicky, well, actually everybody apart from Elena, they use classes. Yeah, so that's interesting to see a different style. Yeah, once again, if I were you, I would use hook because it's simpler, but I really appreciate your efforts dealing with classes because they are, you know, still very important these days. Can you see any, guys? Let's talk about differences between Lauren and Vicky because I can see some subtle but important differences. So first of all. So Lauren, she is ignoring the spacing in the object. Yeah, I think Lauren is important to have a space between the curly braces and the content. Look, for instance, what Vicky did. Well, what Vicky sometimes did, because Vicky, no, look, you put a space, but then you forget to add the space. The only thing I'm happy about what Vicky did here is that she's wrong, but she's consistently wrong. She has a technique. The technique is wrong, but that's a technique. Yeah, the technique is putting just half of the spaces. All right, something else, some more differences. So, Lauren using single quotes, Vicky using double quotes. Which one should we use, guys? Single or double? Why double? But wait a minute. That guys, you cannot use the same answer without any argument, right? It's not just because Airbnb. Because actually Airbnb says the opposite. So what Airbnb says is you should use double quotes only on the HTML part, on the attributes. However, is that HTML? No, that's JavaScript. That's just vanilla, pure JavaScript. Yeah. So in that context, we should use single quotes. Yeah. So single quotes are preferred. There's more differences, something subtle, but to me relevant. Look, the function name. You got two function names. One function name is wrong, and the other function name is even worse. Yeah. So the wrong one is offered by Vicky. Why? And I'll tell you something. I have to admit something. I've seen that so many times from senior developers. I'm so tired of having so intense discussion with people with more experience than me, telling them that's wrong. And the thing is, eventually they realize that that's wrong. And I'll tell you something. If I'm so convinced they are wrong, it's because I was wrong too. I remember I've been doing that for, 12, 13 years, until at HSBC, there was a guy I used to have very heavy fights with, and he was telling me that on click, he was rejecting my pull requests all the time because I was doing on click, on hover, on trigger, on submit. And the thing is, he was right. Actually, eventually he convinced me. And I think that it's important to, listen to your environment. I know that some of you are complaining all the time. I feel behind. Guys, working with people more experienced than you, it's an opportunity to learn from them. Yeah. And for me, that was a great opportunity to understand something I never actually noticed. Why on click is a bad name? Because the function names, guys, should describe what the hell the function do, not who called them and how they were called. Okay? So on click tells me nothing. What can I expect? Wrong. Again, wrong. On click button tells me how the function was called. I don't care how the function was called. I care about what the function does. That's why on click submit works better, because submit, yes, that's correct. Submit tells me something about the goal of the function. Yeah, the function names should represent the goal of the purpose of the function. Okay? And if I'm telling you that, it's not just to convince you how you should name your functions. It's to make sure that in a job interview, in a pairing exercise, you explicitly defend why you are not using on click, but you are using submit or update message, depending on whether you want to be realistic or not in this particular case. But I think on click is clearly not a good variable name. And to me, set click is even worse, because set click, what the hell that means, right? That's tell me nothing. So Vicky tells me how I call the button, which is not what I want, but at least it's telling me something meaningful is information. But set click tells me literally nothing, right? That's why that name should be avoided. Also, let me give you a second reason why on click is a bad variable name. What happens if I want to call that method somewhere else? For instance, on the constructor. What happens if on the constructor I want to run that code because of whatever reason? I will do something like this dot on click, and it will be super weird, right? Why I call a function with this dot on click if that has nothing to do with the on click method? So from a semantics point of view, on click is something you should avoid. Yeah, and again, that's not obvious. If you refer to it in a job interview, I'll tell you something. The employer may discover something new. I'm not sure if they will tell you or not, but they will learn something. And there is nothing more positive than teaching someone something. Yeah? Doing an interview with a senior person doesn't mean you cannot teach him or her about something. And that's a good example, because I've seen many times people using on click. And again, myself, I've been using that for, so many years, until someone, by accident, Andrei, a Russian guy, told me that was wrong. Yeah, that's one of these lessons you never forget. All right. And more differences. Vicky is surrounding the button with a div. What do you think? Is that necessary? Yes, no, why? That's correct, Elena. That's correct. That div is completely unnecessary in this particular use case scenario, because the component has a single element, which is the button. So what's the point of increasing the complexity of your HTML structure? Any questions, guys? No? So you can say back to what Elena did before. She's right. Well, no, wait. She was very naive, thinking that the only issue was that, but that's not true. She had other issues, right? No, wait. So there are many things here we can talk about, actually. So, well, first of all, indentation is wrong on the message, but that's just a subtle, tiny detail. That's not going to make any impact. However, that 3 lines of code are massively wrong, right? And that's where the main issue is. The structure is correct, but these 3 lines are wrong. Every single line here is wrong in these 3 lines. So first of all, set timeout is written with a small o, but you noticed that already, so that's fine. However, set timeout, that's a function, so you should write the opening and close parentheses, yeah, and then a callback function, because that content, set message done, should be evaluated after 1 second, and that's not gonna happen unless you put the empty parentheses, the arrow functions, and these things, right? So that's number 13 on Codeflix. So please refresh how that bit worked. Cool. Anything? But I really appreciate, Elena, you know, the way you try to do things, because I think that's very valuable. All right, guys. Anything else? Anyone? Maxim? All right. So what you can do, Maxim? What you can do is, first of all, obviously rewards the workshop, and then remember, if you check the challenge details, there is a shortcut to play that question again. So please keep practicing with these questions. If you don't know how to solve any of the questions, you know, you can do colleagues, right? So you can see what they did, and of course you can ask me any questions on Slack. Cool. That was it from my side, guys. Let me know if you need any help. Thank you very much, and see you later. Yeah, sure.